I'll give it a minute then.
Welcome.
Okay, 9 o'clock. I think we'll go ahead and get started. Joyce, if you do the roll call, please.
Dave Talley,
Here.
Mark Bymaster, he's absent. Alyssa Dobbin.
Here.
Michael Dixon, he's absent. Darina Bowerman. Here. Leandre Camel.
Here.
Frank Barbieri, who's also absent. We have quorum.
Great, thank you. Okay, now we'll do introductions, and we'll go down at the end as always. We'll start with Patricia.
Good morning, Patricia Morales from the Office of General Counsel.
Gordon Longhofer, Classroom Teachers Association President.
Oscar Estrepo, Inspector General's Office.
Bob Bliss, Office of Inspector General.
Randy Law, Inspector General's Office.
Tracy Shear, Inspector General's Office.
Dave Talley, Audit Committee.
Teresa Michael, Inspector General.
Carrie High, Counsel to Inspector General.
Joyce Edison, Executive Secretary to Inspector General.
Christina Daniels, Inspector General's Office.
Leandre Camel, Audit Committee.
Arena Bowerman, Audit Committee.
Allison Castellano, High School Principal, Principal of Spanish River High School.
Okay, and virtually, Alyssa?
Yes, Alyssa Dobbin, Audit Committee.
Great, thank you.
Corey
Okay,
Heath Reese, Elementary Principal.
okay, anyone else?
Tasha Burke-Peart. I work in operations.
Gloria Branch, School Board Member.
Okay, that's it. Okay, well, welcome to all of you. We'll first take an approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions? Okay, I'll recommend an approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
We need a second. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, passes. Take a minute and review the minutes of the August 15th meeting. And when you've had a chance to look at that, I'll ask for approval of those. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Need a
I'll
second?
second.
Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Passes 4-0. Public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to the Inspector General report. Terry?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
First of all, I'd like to welcome our new principal representative from Spanish River, Dr. Castellano. Appreciate you coming.
Welcome.
Looking forward to getting a principal's insight. I know a lot of times we are problematic or we cause a lot of concerns or work for you, and that's not what we want to do. So we are always open to get your insight, to get the principal's input on what's going on. That's very important to us because we don't know all the time, understand everything. So giving us some context, we'd very appreciate it. So please feel free to speak up on topics and to give us your insight. And as always, in passing on to the other principals, we'd like to hear, if they have questions or concerns. So,
Mr. Law will let you know that I do that.
yeah.
Thank you.
I've been giving my input, but now I'm glad to be part of the committee, to be here with all of you. So hopefully if there are changes or things that need to be made, that I can help communicate that as well. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And Mr. Longhofer, the president of CTA, welcome. We normally see you at board meetings, so it's a little different to see you first thing in the morning. And the same thing with the teachers as well, because we understand that this also affects them.
Absolutely.
And, I have a neighbor that lives down the street that's a teacher, so every time I'm walking my dog, she makes sure that she lets me know when we are meeting the mark or not. So we want to hear from you as well. I appreciate any comments.
I appreciate that, Ms. Michael. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. As far as us, we're going to have a very short meeting, well, a hopefully short meeting and very painless. We had a long board meeting, or fairly long, on Wednesday. But this year, this is the time of year for the annual report. And I know everybody's so excited because an IG annual report is just the thing that everybody has been wanting to look at. And I understand there's 5 people that read it, and one of those is my mother. And she's very proud of me, by the way. A little bit on the annual report. It is a big deal to IGs. It's our brag books, but it's also a way for us to demonstrate to the public, as well as the district, of what we've been able to accomplish. And our IG annual report is a little different than most annual reports that you will see, because we have a lot of the background information. That's because there's a lot of misunderstandings or kind of urban legends about what IGs do and don't do. And so we try to add a lot of educational to this as well, because that's also a function of the IG's office. We have some changes and new additions to the report. We have backgrounds, we have statistics, and then finally, appreciation to the staff who actually do the work. First of all, one of the changes now, this report has a certification and affirmation, and if you will see, I think it's like on the 3rd or 4th page where I signed electronically that I affirmed that everything in here is true and accurate. Being in this field for now going on 29 years, I can tell you that I don't know if every IG could actually sign an affirmation on their report, but this report is also used as a basis for my evaluation. So I wanted to have an affirmation in there to let you know that you can rely on this information, that it's not misleading, that it's accurate, and I certify that. So that when you do my evaluation, this is the information from there. I do have to admit that I dropped the ball. There's one issue that I know of, and that's the omission of Alex Sosa, who is our new auditor. I apologize to Alex that for some reason his bio did not get in there, so I made sure that we have his full bio here right now so he gets his recognition. He's one of our new auditors, but he's doing an amazing job. And again, Alex, I apologize, but we already printed it, and fraud waste, reprinting these things would not be good. So, but I do apologize. He's doing an excellent job. So Alex, here's your kudos.
Point of inquiry, Mr. Chairman. I noticed in the first line there that it says that Alex Sosa earned a bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of Florida. That wouldn't be the reason, would it, Madam IG, that you left him out?
Well, he didn't go to St. Leo, so, you know.
And anything to do with Seminoles,
Alex,
it
go
would be fine.
Gators. Hang tough, bud. Hang tough.
Go Monarchs, Lions, or whatever my university has changed their name to right now. But remember, my school is undefeated in football. We don't have a team, but we're undefeated. But here's the background for the introductions in the office. One of is the function or purpose of the office, and this is transparency and accountability. So that's what the purpose of the report is, and the educational informative. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is that the IG office is the only office that reports to the board through myself. So all the other employees report to the superintendent and then to the board. But we are independent, and the staff in policy, it states that they report to the board through me. So, and that's so that we have nobody here that in this office that has any type of influence or has any problems with what could be deemed pressure from district management. Here's the different functions. A lot of people don't realize the different functions that the IG's office and which unit they do. The audit section just lists what the different areas that they handle. Audit, of course, they do the plan, they have the internal funds audits and reviews, and they handle the risk assessment. The investigation section is in charge of the CARES process. They also do investigations, they do the safety inspections, and they have CFA accreditation. Our contracts and QA attends committees and solicitations, completes contract reviews, monitors all the follow-ups to the reports, the recommendations, and they also handle the peer review and quality assurance. And lastly, our legal department, i.e. Legal Beagle sitting next to me. He reviews all the reports for legal sufficiency, does the policy development, he handles public records, because that's extremely important. Public records is a very complicated process, and making sure that you handle that, I would not trust anybody but an attorney to handle that function, because you can really make some mistakes. And then he also goes over with all the investigations with the individual investigators to make sure that they're hitting all the marks legally. All right, CARES. All right, everybody loves CARES. All right, and one of the things I wanted to tell you that since I've been here, I've not had one new idea in my little head. Everything that I've done here, changed here, is something that somebody else has done, except for the naming of CARES. That came from my little head. That was all me, all right. But everything else are things that IIGs do everywhere else. So I'm not innovative. I'm not breaking any new ground. But I did come up with the CARES title. Since CARES has started, we've processed over 2,500 complaints. And each complaint is reviewed by the Director of Investigations, inputted by our CARES intake staff, and then approved by myself. And as you can see, this is the breakdown of how the complaints have come in. Quite a few of the cases are referred out to other people. I know there's been some concern that I am trying to take over the district and I have a power grab, and you can tell there that no, there's 612 complaints that are referred out to management because they are not related to misconduct of a level that requires the IG to take over. There's also an agreement that I have with Office of Professional Standards that when you're talking about teacher education or certifications or classroom management or things of that nature, I can't judge, what is good classroom management. I'm used to nuns, at a parochial school, so I would never judge how teachers today and what they have to deal with. Plus, I'm very old. But if you take a look, you see how things have gone through the CARES. Investigations this year, they completed 13 investigations. 10 of those investigations had substantiated findings. 4 cases were regarding selling snacks. And I know that this sounds rather trivial, but the teacher selling snacks in a classroom causes numerous problems, one of which jeopardizes federal grant funding. We receive a great deal of money from the federal government, and if we are selling snacks that are not approved by the nutrition, I forgot what the name, what's it called? Nutritional guidelines, then we could lose those millions of dollars. It also causes disruption in the classrooms. The kids are fighting over food, they're eating, they're coming in late because they're stopping by the local snack bar, i.e. teacher's classroom. So it does cause some problems. We had 2 cases involving fundraising violations, one of which was referred to law enforcement because it was obvious that the employee was using the money for their own personal gain. We had 1 case of improper use of a purchase card, 1 scheme involving supplements, which continues to be a problem with supplements being misused, and then 2 cases of falsifying timesheets. We also had 2 cases that were unsubstantiated in use of improper public funds, and an employee, it was alleged that an employee evaluation was improperly modified, and we did not find that. And then 1 unfounded. And when the difference between unsubstantiated and unfounded was there was absolutely no evidence that this occurred. Unsubstantiated is that the preponderance of evidence showed that it didn't happen, but there was some indications of some problems that could have come forward, but it's unsubstantiated. It was not meeting the threshold. And then we have the school safety inspections. Last year we did 33 of those, and those are the breakdowns. And we're going to be going over the results of the safety inspections at a closed door session because it's just not proper for us to discuss the finer details. Do I have any questions about the investigation section? I have Director Restrepo here. It's nice to know that the director has no questions about his own work. Okay. Okay, accreditation. This year, we went through our accreditation. We are accredited by the Commission for Florida Law Enforcement. That is it's an optional accreditation. We're not forced to do that, but this is a standard that we do want to meet. It's the same accrediting board that the school police goes through. And this will be our second reaccreditation, our third time going through the process, and we did an amazing job. And I'm very proud of the staff that put forth the work in that and keeping all of those rules in line. And this just assures, because not everything that we do is written in our policy. I know that we've gone through a lot of policy development, and a lot of board members and a lot of the public and have asked questions about, well, where is it written? Why do you we don't know that you're doing that. How do we know that you're doing it? Well, the standards require it. And in order for us to keep the accreditation, we have to maintain those standards. All right, next to audit. Our audit department, which is ran by Director Randy Law, this year they had 4 audits. The first one was the Lake Worth High School Band, which had 4 main findings: diverting funds, inadequate documentation, and student safety and money collection procedure violations. This year, we also did our unannounced cash counts of 15 schools. Very happy to see that no missing money. We had no findings at 7 of those schools. That's excellent to hear. We did have some non-compliances related to documentation and delayed deposits, and that's something that continues to be an issue, but it's addressed, and it's not to the point where I think somebody's holding it for months on end or using it as their own piggy banks. But again, the longer the money is sitting at the school, the greater the chance that we have missing money. So that's always. Then we had an audit of the safety inspections program, and that's to ensure that the inspections are being performed by certified inspectors. We had 8% deficiencies were resolved, but there's still problems. And then we had some deficiencies that remain uncorrected from 1 to 6 years, and even 11 to 29 years. And those are some structural type issues that are just not going to be changed because we're not using it for that reason. They're either a facility or a building that they're coming up with a safety issue, but nobody's using it for that reason. So it just continues to be a violation. And this is something that we are going to look at doing a risk acceptance on to kind of get rid of these findings. All right, and then finally, the internal funds. Every year, every school has a audit, and this year we had 18 schools with no significant non-compliances, and I really want to give those schools kudos, because if you made it through Randy Law's team with no significant non-compliances, that's pretty good. Yeah. The disbursements, we had some issues with improper documentation, no consultant agreements for vendors, and that isn't so much, you're worried about a issue on paperwork, is that sometimes you have somebody that's not been vetted, that has not gone through the process that for Jessica Lunsford Act. So we don't know who these vendors are and if they are, somebody that should not be around children. So that's why those are so very important. We also had some money collection issues, untimely deposits, fundraising procedures. That, again, it continues. We have a lot of volunteers. You have a lot of teachers. It's their first time doing a fundraiser. And, the principals can't be on top of everybody at all times. And so that you do have some things that come through. But I think each year we are making some progress. And then lastly, the leasing of facilities agreements not properly executed. That's an issue where sometimes they're just not signed. And again, you have some problems as far as risk is concerned, as when you have somebody that's supposedly leasing our facilities, but we don't have an agreement with them. And of course, audit made it through their peer review. And I want to congratulate the audit staff and Mr. Bliss, who sets up the peer review. When we are peer reviewed for the audit and contract oversight section, they are audited, they are looked at through the standards or the Green Book by the Association of Inspector General and the Government Accounting Office, which is otherwise called the Yellow Book. The reviewers were here in April, and they came back and said that we're meeting all standards, and we did an excellent job. So I'm very proud of the whole team. Auditors have papers for papers for papers, and they sign off on every paper a couple of times. So that to meet all those standards is really amazing. And then we have our contract and compliance oversight section. That's Mr. Bliss, and he attends, because he's the whole unit, 21 contract meetings with an estimated contract value of over $140 million. He also attends the CORC, Construction Oversight, and the Independent Surtax Oversight Committees. And additionally, he also looks at all of the recommendations that are found in audits and investigations, and he follows up on those recommendations until they're completed and we can close it out. And that's the end of the annual report. See how I condensed that? All right. Do I have any questions about the annual report and anything that we're doing here?
I don't have any questions. I just have a comment. I think this is an excellent document, and congratulations to you and your whole staff for doing such a wonderful job.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the kind words. It really is the staff's work. I just sign the reports and the checks. And I do want to point out that on our cover of our annual report, we have the superintendent on it. I didn't ask his permission. I informed him that his picture is on there and he has no choice in the matter. But he said that he was honored. I don't know if I believe that. But I do want to thank the staff for all of their hard work. I wish I could give everybody a raise, but that's not going to happen. We heard about the budget. So I will do what I can for the staff in my way to make things, to show my appreciation. But you guys do a very thankless job. And I think you all understand that nobody ever looks at us and goes, yay, the IG's here. So I understand that, because I say that when you walk into my office too. But thank you very much, staff. I do appreciate the work.
Are there any questions or comments of the members? If not, I'll recommend a motion to approve.
It's DeAndre, motion to approve and accept this annual report of the Inspector General, from the Office of Inspector General.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Passes 4-0. Before we go on, I'd just like the minutes to reflect that our CFO, Heather Frederick, has joined us for the meeting, so nice to have you. Okay, we will go on now to the update of the internal funds audit. Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This year's internal funds audit is progressing smoothly. Up until last week, we have completed 19 out of the 177 schools field work. And then I checked the status this morning. The past 4 days, the auditors finished another 5 schools. So a total of 24 schools field audit have been completed. We expect to have all the schools audits completed in timely, by mid-March or something like that. So there shouldn't be any problem. And then in terms of the audit findings, they're very similar to what happened last year, because of every year there's a lot of turnovers in bookkeepers. They may need new additional training to get up to speed with the work. So no material findings so far, all were about the same. In addition to the internal funds, I just want to add another update. Is in addition to doing the internal funds audit, the auditors are also trying to complete other outstanding performance audit. We have another 6 performance audits ongoing. Most of them have been completed, about 80% of the work. So hopefully we will have all those 6 performance audits completed, in the next few months, and then present to the audit committee for review and approval. Any other questions?
You said
Okay.
6, outstanding 6? 6, okay.
Okay, thank you, Randy. Next, we'll go to board policy review. Carrie High, Esquire.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Sticking with the this morning's theme of keeping stuff rolling. I'll be presenting our final policy review that you all will hopefully have to see for a little while, at least a year or two. Today we're going to be covering the whistleblower protection policy, which is Board Policy 3.28. Just noteworthy, the prior policies that you all have reviewed, two of which, the audit committee policy pertaining to you, as well as the fraud policy, have both advanced to the development stage, and they are set for a board vote on October 8th. The Inspector General policy, there were some questions and some points of discussion during the workshop week before last, so we're re-workshopping that one on the 8th, along with this one pending your approval today. So, first question, what would the OIG Council's policy review be without a Scrivener's error to update? What would it be? It would be not fun, and the audit committee loves to have fun, so line 106, this is my mea culpa to you all. Line 106 in your copy should state section 2G 1 and 2 of this policy. I believe right now it erroneously reads section 2D 1 and 2. The reason for that is because I actually placed all of our definitions in alphabetical order, and I just neglected to update that. So my bad, Scrivener's error, corrected in your copy, and it will be corrected in time for workshop. So here we go, whistleblower protection. What we've really done this time, much like the other policies, is we're really working to align all of our district and board policies operating within the district with Florida law. There is a pretty substantial section in Florida law regarding public and private whistleblowers. We obviously, as a public institution, fall under the Whistleblowers Act for public employees. That's section 112.3187 through 112.31895. And the premise for whistleblower protection, just by way of a little bit of a history lesson here, is we provide confidentiality to anyone who makes what the law deems to be a protected disclosure. And that is very strictly defined under section 112.3187. And when we receive any sort of report or complaint or really anything that comes into our office, whether the complainant or reporter is requesting whistleblower protection, our investigations team analyzes it to see if it meets the definition of protected disclosure. If it does, right, we have a thorough process where we vet it, and we do our level best, because we have to comply with the law and protect the confidentiality of that person's name and identity, whether or not we decide to conduct an investigation. So the number one purpose behind this policy is to protect very specific groups of complainants or reporters' confidentiality. The second thing is we protect people, this policy rather, protects people who make protected disclosures from any subsequent retaliation, be that in the form of adverse personnel action, such as a demotion or a firing, or really anything that can be causally connected to that protected disclosure. Our policy is designed to provide an avenue or a mechanism for them to be protected and seek remedies or redress for that. So as we go through this, really think about those two things: protection of the reporter's confidential, their name, their identity, as well as protecting and providing an avenue if they believe they've been retaliated against based on that protected disclosure. Excuse me. The main crux for some of the removal of a lot of the language that was in this policy is based on the original drafters. I'm not denigrating them, but conflating protections that are provided to state agencies. We are not a state agency. We do a lot of things similar to what state agencies do, and certainly we've done our best to advance the spirit of the state agency practices. But when we tried to proverbially squeeze kind of that square peg of state agency practices into the round hole of the district, we've run into some issues. And so what I've done and what I'm proposing is applying the appropriate standard, right, and revising this so we put in the language from the policy that applies to local governments, because that's what the board is. Again, it serves in that quasi-judicial, quasi-legislative capacity, but it is a local government unit as opposed to a state agency for purposes of whistleblower. So you'll see that a lot of these changes and a lot of the removal of some of the language that was there, it's so that we align with the law. And specifically, that law is only 112.3187 to 112.3188, because all of those subsequent sections, they apply to other entities that aren't local governments. And you'll see that correction in line 12 through 22. So specifically, we're really going to start rolling now. Specifically, we have used the appropriate terminology to designate the person who is responsible for receiving whistleblower, we call them whistleblower complaints, but really what they are, legally speaking, is protected disclosures. That person, by our policy, has always been the Inspector General, but the language that's used by the statute is appropriate local official. Somehow we settled on locally designated official in the original version. I'm not sure how that happened. I wasn't part of that, but I've changed that term to appropriate local official and provided a very precise and clear definition that the appropriate local official here for the school district, as far as it relates to whistleblower complaints, is the Inspector General. Additionally, we've added a new definition for sufficient complaints. And what that really does is it just merely codifies the language from the Florida statute that defines protected disclosures. And that statute is 112.3187, parent 5A and parent 5B. We sort of call them in the office the two prongs, right? And that specifically defines the type of complaints that if they are brought forward, or again, it doesn't have to be a complaint, it can be a report. Hey, something happened, I want to make sure that you're made aware of this because I believe it affects the health, safety, and welfare, or I believe it is an example of gross mismanagement or misfeasance or malfeasance. And again, when we perform our analysis, we view it for sufficiency, so we've added this definition of sufficient complaint, and it's pulled right directly from the statute. And lastly, we've really streamlined everything by also consolidating reporting procedures to create, because we've really worked hard, at least over my time here, to centralize things in this district. For many years, I think that people sort of embrace the idea of having a decentralized model, and the larger that a place gets and the more pressure we feel to comply with laws and rules and regulations that are being handed down either from Tallahassee or Washington, D.C., it helps to have something that's centralized so that folks know where to go, they know who to speak to make sure that their problems are addressed. So you'll see some streamlining. All right, number one, we have removed a section that says rights of employees. And before everyone gets upset, we've actually integrated those rights into a section called exclusive remedy. And that exclusive remedy is pulled directly from section 112.3187, 8B. And that's lines 228 through 234. So understand, we haven't removed any rights, but we've clarified what someone has to do if they want to, again, make a protected disclosure. If they have made a protected disclosure and subsequently they believe they've been retaliated against, this is the section they will go to for the exclusive remedy to receive relief. And that is promulgated by statute. It's driven by specifically the district's relationship with the Department of Administrative Hearings, or DOA. We have a contract with them that says, look, if somebody claims whistleblower retaliation, they have to have their case heard here as part of their exhaustion of administrative remedies. There's been some recent case law that's come out of the 4th District Court of Appeal in the past, I think it's been about a year, right, Patricia? The decision? I think so. So we're talking with folks from General Counsel's office. And again, we are just aligning our policy with what the law requires, and more importantly, what the courts have said the law means. So that's some reorganization that's taken place. We've also consolidated, all right? And really what we've taken is we've taken all of those inapplicable provisions that I mentioned a couple slides ago that relate to state agencies, whistleblowers. We've wiped those out because they're not applicable to local governments, and we've created sections that flow, in my opinion, much better through 3.287, 3.288, and 3.289. And that, again, really spells out the rights. And it more closely mirrors the whistleblower statute in substance and in really structure. The last thing is the investigative closure and the reporting procedures that we've created. When the appropriate local official or the IG receives a report or a complaint, what we obviously, again, make sure happens is that we screen those, we vet those, and in the event that it turns out to be a protected disclosure that is worthy of investigation, What we do, and this is following the spirit of the law for state agencies, is we have, since the beginning of this policy, adopted a practice where we notify the superintendent and let the highest ranking manager, our CEO, let him know what our investigation bore out. And let him or her know what decisions, or let him know what possible risks are faced and what possible decisions can be made. And this, again, requires that there be notice of that provided back to us that it was received, and if there is any action taken, we can then take it back to our disclosure. We can then let that whistleblower know, hey, you came in, you disclosed something to us, it was obviously, it was something that we've looked at, it's meritorious, here's what the superintendent has decided to do, if anything. And again, it just closes that loop and ensures that we're both advancing really the protection part of whistleblower confidentiality, because we will be the go-between to let that person know. The superintendent's never going to know who that person is if we've done our job. And we will also be in that position to adhere to the fidelity of the law, which means if you're a whistleblower, you're reporting something that is very important, that needs to be addressed, and if we find that that is the case, it is addressed. And lastly, renumbered sections 9 through 11, just to really create more of a logical sequence that goes hand to hand with this consolidation. So here we go, report submission, right? We clarified, I've said this a couple times now, hopefully you're with me, that the IG is the appropriate local official, and she or he, whoever the IG is, will be responsible for processing and receiving any complaints if you want to trigger the protection under this policy. That's marked in a couple different sections because we really want to make sure that folks understand that that's who you need to go to. Investigation standards, and this is one of the things that's stuck in I know in the Inspector General's craw, and my craw a little bit as well. There was some language in here that, much like CARES, completely inappropriate, that related to the IG making disciplinary recommendations in our final reports, or even making recommendations regarding reinstatement for employment or anything related to possible retaliation. Those have, number one, they're inappropriate, but that second one has been rendered moot because that is no longer what the IG does. Again, DOA would be the entity responsible for making any decisions there. So we've removed that language. We also removed sort of the nonsensical anonymity provision, because if you think about it, if someone's making an anonymous report to us, their identity is already confidential, right? So we've removed that as well. Lastly, closure notification. And I mentioned this before, but we've enhanced this procedure to make it much more clear. And basically, again, any written report that we provide to the superintendent will review. And then based on whatever decision is made by the superintendent after review, we will send that back to the reporter or the person who disclosed to us that law violation or again, incident that was worthy of protection. Here we go. We have now clarified the protection, and this is basically, these are the ways in which whistleblower folks can make their disclosures, but understand that merely because this is from statute, it has to contain a protected disclosure. So we just really spelled it out and made it much more clear, and I'm proud because we added CARES to part of this basis that people can use when they are making a protected disclosure. So that can be a voluntary written complaint, participation in investigation, again, where you make a protected disclosure, merely being a witness, merely being somebody who says, oh yeah, that's the person that I report to, but yeah, I don't know anything about this complaint. That wouldn't be enough to render someone protected by either the statute or this policy. Refusing to participate in prohibited actions, and then complaints with supervisors, all of that's codified in lines 190 through 205. And again, this has come directly from section 112, 3187, parent 7, local government whistleblower. And I just mentioned this, we've added protection to disclosures that are made not only through the hotline, that's all the statute requires, is that we have a hotline, and Hotline's kind of old school, you know, you think of calling on the red telephone, but we also have CARES. We also have a platform where someone can upload documentation. You know, they can fill out a report online if they don't want to actually speak to someone, or if they prefer to speak to someone, they can speak to someone in multiple languages. That's all part of that hotline concept, but we also have CARES, as you all are aware. Lastly, this is our last slide, and I'm trying to cook. Personal knowledge, good faith requirements. This was something that was built into the policy to begin with, but we've clarified it because it really just said, you know, you got to act in good faith. But we have taken existing statutory language, specifically involving the enforcement of code of ethics violations. The legislature, I think it was year before last, they adopted some requirements involving ethics violations, and it requires firsthand knowledge. You know, they go so far as to require that complaints be, you know, sworn to and not based on hearsay and stuff that could be problematic later on, but that's the legislature's issue. We've just said, if you are making a report, you need to have personal knowledge and a reasonable ground for believing that what you're disclosing constitutes a violation. And we've buttressed that by saying, hey, sometimes people will make disclosures, sometimes people will complain of things, and if we deem it protected disclosure, we look at it and we find out that it really wasn't what the person thought, so we have to unsubstantiate that allegation. As long as it's made in good faith, you're not subject to any kind of disciplinary action. Right? We want you to know that when we vet these things, we are considering, right, the idea that you might not have all the facts, but you certainly have enough personal knowledge and you're bringing it with what the law would call clean hands. The other side of that is this. We kind of define what constitutes a non-good faith, right? And that would be a false report. And that would be where somebody presents something recklessly or maliciously or brings forth a complaint that on its face we look at it and say, wow, if this is proven to be true, it constitutes a protected disclosure. But once we peel back the layers of the onion and start talking to people, we start finding out, oh no, that complaint was made because somebody was upset about a totally separate issue and they wanted to get the person that's the subject of this investigation. And normally those end up becoming unfounded. And again, if it can be demonstrated not by us, but by the folks who are responsible for discipline and maintaining professional standards, if they believe it was brought with malicious intent or they believe it's something that was done so recklessly or with knowing disregard for the truth, that could present a consequence. But that's out of our hands. I think that covers it. I don't have any pictures of flying monkeys. You're welcome, but there are some in the annual report, if you've noticed. And that covers it.
I would just make one recommendation, is that where you mention and specifically call out CARES, that you just refer to it as a platform, because you did mention that it's not just CARES, it's a platform, and you don't know when you're going to change it potentially. And then that way you don't have to actually go back and change the policy just to update the name. That's just a recommendation.
Right on. Thank you.
Okay, yes, sir.
Question and 3 more Scribner notes.
Oh, boy. As I say,
Of course, yeah.
you won the award. Yes, sir.
I would be the grammar inspector general at times. The question is, can I get the digital version of this presentation for these notes? This is incredibly good information for me as we look at how CARES and how whistleblower protections are evolving, so that we can go ahead and update our processes with members as they bring concerns to us.
Absolutely.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah, Ms. Edison she'll make that available.
And you've got
to
my
you.
email address, so thank you so much. The other thing is the Scribner notes.
Yes, sir,
Line
please.
12 of the changes.
We'll get right into my digital version.
You let me know when you're there, Mr. High.
Yes, sir. I'm ready.
Line 12. The word "to" ahead of the red insert probably needs to be deleted as a matter of grammar.
Okay.
Because
two
then,
is that does not make sense.
yeah, exactly. Next, line 48. Spelling of remuneration near the end of that line.
Oh, that's remuneration. Oh, my goodness. Okay, yeah.
I don't even know if that's a word, but hey.
I feel like, yeah, we, for wages or other, remuneration. That was part of our ethics presentation last week. This is really embarrassing, but yes, we'll.
It's all right. Sadly, I found out that there are a number of words in common use now that I just would have never used and still refuse to.
Well, remuneration, can we?
Yeah, that might be one of them, but hey, far be it from me to pass any judgment. Just
we'll correct
we're
them.
all in this together and trying to make sure language is accurate because when the words are down as the code, if it were, as it were, then all of a sudden we have to live by them, even if the comma is misplaced. And the last thing would be on line 106, probably need to leave in the word in ahead of section 2.G.1, number 1 through 2.
Got it.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Longhofer.
Okay, yes.
I apologize, I'm new, so if I missed something, I would just like further clarification on why on line 269, we're taking out the information on the student and the code of conduct. I know that as principals, we see CARES reports come in that are put in by angry parents or angry people, and I understand this is to protect employees, which is why the word volunteer is taken out. But to me, there are students that, go and put false things in on a teacher or, could be, obviously we're protected here under if a teacher is doing something with regards to a principal. But my question would be, is that somewhere else to where it's not needed here? Because I just have a concern that people don't always use this care system appropriately and they use it as retaliation. That's what I see as a principal. A student has an issue with an assistant principal and, we keep our doors open, there's witnesses, and then next thing you know, I receive a CARES report on this assistant principal that the student and parent went and put in as retaliation because this student received some sort of consequence. So I'm just wondering why that line and that it was taken out.
The simple answer is, and I think you sort of asked, it is more properly addressed elsewhere, and that would be, quite frankly, in the code of conduct and through whatever it is that.
False allegation against, okay.
Bingo. This was one of those things where really pretty much from when we really started discussing the need to overhaul whistleblower protection. Again, the intent, I think, was to really let people know that this is something we take seriously. You don't abuse it. You're not supposed to be reckless. And we wanted to include everyone in that. But just like you noted, the policy and the law is designed to protect employees, former employees, applicants for employment, and contractors. Students don't fall into that category. And as the IG said, it's really our company line that we don't tread into matters involving student discipline at all. However, if someone does that, I think it can be more readily addressed in another section. So that was why we pulled it out.
Gloria Branch.
Thank you. So where is it somewhere else?
I'm sorry?
Where would that be when you said it is somewhere else in the report?
Oh, no,
Where is it?
Yeah, I wasn't referring to in the policy. It's more properly addressed, most likely in the student code of conduct itself, or with however the district or campus level management decides to address the student's role in filing some kind of false report.
Okay, I definitely would want to know where that is. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions or comments of Carrie? Hearing none, I'll recommend a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 4-0. Okay, next item is investigations. There are two listed here, and these were previously sent to you by Joyce. Are there any general comments? Hearing none, our next meeting is scheduled for Friday, October 17th. And if there's no further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Talley, there is no school that day, but just FYI.
Oh. Okay. Thank you. Okay, second? Okay.
Second.
Thank you. I think we set close to a world record for a fast meeting. Thank you all for coming and have a good weekend.